Today, we're speaking with Megan Moshier, director of the San Antonio location of Studio 8, an architecture and interior design firm. Also joining us is landscape architect Elaine Kearney, who leads the San Antonio office of TVG Partners as their managing principal. Together, they recently worked on 200 Austin Highway, which is located at the intersection of Broadway and Austin Highway in Alamo Heights. Hi, ladies. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So I thought we'd start out by just talking, Megan, you're with the architecture firm that designed the building. Can you give us just a brief kind of overview of the building and kind of some of the site?
We designed the building for Ridgemont Properties, and the original site was a drive-through bank that sat, half of the site sits within the floodplain. And the owner, worked really closely with the community early on, trying to get buy-in on what he was going to do with the site. And he really wanted to create a multi-tenant building that was really geared towards that neighborhood entrepreneur, smaller tenant base, just trying to have something that was rooted in the community, a new Class A office building, which hadn't been built in the community in quite some time. And so, he really wanted to make an impact and, create a building there that was geared towards that.
Were there any other kind of restrictions as far as, kind of with the city of Alamo Heights along those lines, or any restrictions for the building that you guys had to accommodate for, some challenges?
The floodplain was one of the challenges, and just trying to get the square footage that we wanted, that makes the project work. We explored lots of different options too, some options that had more mixed use, not just office, so we did explore some things that could have a retail component to it. But when it came down to it and getting the numbers to work, the parking was one of the biggest challenges, I would say. So, we got over the hurdle of the floodplain. I mean, it's literally a foot away from the floodplain, the front door is. And applying and going through the process with planning and zoning and the Board of Adjustments on applying for a parking variance, and trying to sell to them our vision, the owner's vision of the building, being for that neighborhood entrepreneur, again, like I said, and being a smaller tenant base, kind of helped us sell that the parking variance that we were going for. So we did purchase a right of way from the city. So that was, kind of an advantage for them. For the city, it was just, just grass space. And we turned that into parking that could be used for the public, as well as the site. And then we also, the parking variant or the parking challenge was really something that spurred the podium style building, so the bottom level is on podium, and then it's 3 levels of office space above that. And so that was, that the parking really did drive a lot of our design decisions, and then, Elaine can elaborate on some of the site things too that, tried to do to soften that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Studio 8 did a great job of balancing. It's kind of an interesting context when you think about it, that right now a lot of Austin Highway is, it used to be the suburbs, so it had a little bit more of that car-centricness to it. There were drive-through banks, that kind of thing, but it's changing really rapidly. I think there's a lot of interest in Broadway corridor and some of the new development that's happened in the immediate vicinity. So I think trying to plan for what will be a much more urban condition in the future was kind of an interesting challenge. Like, how do you give it that front door and that face that feels a little bit more urban, while at the same time, these really pretty significant restrictions. I don't think a lot of people would think of Austin Highway as being in a floodplain, but it definitely is. So, thinking like, how could we make some gathering spaces for the tenants, and give it some of that outdoor presence, while at the same time realizing that we couldn't really, we had to build up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Was there anything, Elaine, along the lines of the design of the landscape architecture that kind of helps tie it in with the building?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, early on, there was some great collaboration between Studio 8 and TBG. And I think really thinking about that lobby space is really special on the ground floor and thinking about that as an inside outside space. And so, while even though it has a pretty small footprint to it, we worked really hard to select some really nice outdoor furniture that would kind of expand that sense of lobby. And the other thing we did, I mean, it's a pretty simple site plan, but we really made a nice gesture to bring people in from create an inviting entrance off of Austin Highway. So we have a really nice pedestrian experience, I think, that takes you up. And a lot of that you see just through some simple moves of lighting. I think it looks really sharp at night. There's a beautiful sign out front, and the owner, I love this, was really interested in trying to get some really nice mature trees on day one, just recognizing that that makes such a difference to the feel of the site. So we were really lucky to be able to get a lot of nice trees out there. So I think that really helps to soften it.
So Megan, can you tell us a little bit about Elaine kind of touched on some of the interior, maybe some of the design and the materials that you all used for the building?
One of the interesting things about, once we finally were able to, get the square footage that we needed, place it on the site, get the parking to work, we also really needed to kind of start to think about the facade. And this building is a little unique in that it, we always say it has two faces. It's got the face that's towards Austin Highway, that front door that Elaine touched on. The lighting, building lighting was a really big thing for us to really just try to engage it with, future master planning things that are happening, at the extension of Broadway that the city's been working on, something that catches your eye, pulls you in. Once those trees mature even more than they are now, and then you start to see the lighting in those, like that's going to be great. And so that front face there, is also at the mercy of western sun. And so that's why we have some of the vertical fins on the building for sun shading. The selection of the glass was really important. And then, material wise, the owner really wanted to bring something in that was warm, fit the neighborhood. Again, didn't look just like, a box on a parking lot. And so he really wanted to bring wood in, and then we really wanted to pull that into the interior. And so the wood that we have on the building is actually metal cladding, so it's going to hold up to that western sun. And then we pulled that wood tone into this interior stair, which was a really big component of the interior. We worked really hard around different code opportunities that we had to make an open stair work. So we have one exit stair on the north, and then we have this interconnecting stair in between the floors, and it's it's wider than a normal multi-tenant building. There was a lot of detail into it, but again, just really trying to pull some of those elements from the exterior into the interior. And then on the back side, the kind of back face, we wanted to make sure that was, we weren't turning our back to the neighborhood, that we gave that a face as well. And so we've created these unique balconies for tenants that that face the neighborhood, and you just have all these lush trees around, and we use stucco on the back because that related to the just the context of the neighborhood surrounding it. So there was a lot of kind of pulling the inside out and outside in, and paying attention to what the building was facing and how it fit into the context of the neighborhood. It's a bit of a signature building for us in San Antonio. I mean, we've got tons of them in Austin, but we're slowly building up here in San Antonio and becoming part of this community. So it's been really rewarding, and the just a stellar design team all around. Pape Dawson and Alderson and Associates for MEP, and Dunaway for structural, and TBG on the landscape side. Like, it was just a really stellar team, and really grateful for the opportunity.
You guys have a good day, and I really appreciate your time talking with us about your brand new building.
Awesome. Thanks for
Thanks,
having
Elizabeth.
us. Bye.